Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to Casual Conversation with GNA. And today we have a special guest. We have Shawn G from Chasing the Truth with Shawn Graham. And of course, everybody in the chat knows who you are. But I've been wanting to get you on to talk about your experiences because I know you have a few, especially your near death experience. So I'm excited.
I appreciate the invite. I know that I kind of drug my foot. I was about ready to say feet, but my foot on getting back to you about it. But I'm glad I'm here and I'm ready to talk about anything you want to talk about.
Awesome. Let me just say hi to a couple people here in the chat because I don't know. I just like to do that. I feel like I like it when people say hi to me. So, Goshawk, hi,
Hi.
Chica, how are you? Nice to see you in here. Sue, hi, Miss Sue. Thank you for coming. And Julie, hi, Julie. Um, let's see. I think that's so far. That's who we have. But
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
welcome,
good.
everybody, and we hope you enjoyed today. Hi, Miss Lakea. Thanks for showing up. Okay, so let's let's get this party started because I'm excited to talk to Shawn. I've been wanting to talk to him for a while. Um, but yeah, when did I want to ask you this because I know that there's like now like you've had a lot of experiences, but when did things start for you? Like in the paranormal or when you first experienced like the weird stuff,
The weird stuff.
the creepy stuff.
Let's see. When I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, I was living with obviously my parents in this trailer court that was surrounded on two sides by cemetery. And I kept seeing stuff walk down the hallway or in the house or whatever. And I'd call out, of course, 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, saying, Dad, Mom, there's a ghost walking down the hallway. Of course, my dad's going, Shut up, Shawn. There's nothing going to bother you here. There's nothing at all. I'll be a son of a gun if that old boy, after we moved out of the trailer court, pulls into a grocery parking lot. Turns around. I thought, well, I was with my sister and my late brother then in the back seat, and he flips around, over the bucket seats and says, "I wasn't going to tell you this until after we moved out." And he said that one night he saw this glowing man walking down the hallway, and the master bedroom was at the end of the trailer. Walked by both the kids' bedrooms. My brother and I shared a room, and my sister's, of course, had her own room. And this ghost walks in through the trailer, walks and peeks in the my sister's room and in my bedroom and my brother's room. And then all of a sudden, I actually remember this that night. He jumps up and says, "Who the hell are you?" Flips the light on, and he says, "This ghost walks right through the back end of the wall." I remember him leaving that night, but according to what I was told, he followed this now orb outside the trailer to the neighbor's trailer. He said he saw the glow walk through that trailer or move through the trailer, then out the end of the trailer, and then he saw the glow go to another trailer, and then he, you know, saw in succession every one trailer along that line of trailers that we were on in that trailer court. It popped out and then flies into the forest, and that was it. And when he told me that, I was about ready to say, I'm going to choke the son of a gun out for telling me I wasn't seeing crap. So
Right. Wow,
there you
that's
go.
young. That's a young age. I
Yeah.
think I would
So
like I think, yeah, if my kids are around that age and if they were to tell me something like that, I would be like, "No." I would get a priest in here right away. I would, like, sage the house. That's scary. Yeah.
yeah, I have seen, I guess, off and on all my life. It just really started picking up after I had my near death experience. But I've seen plenty of stuff in hospitals, plenty of stuff at other places I have lived. Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because, I know that even your house, right, the one that you were currently in,
Hmm.
that one you've had definite experiences in there, um, but
As close as today, actually.
really, today you had an experience?
Today I had an experience.
You
Sure
wanna
did.
sh
I was right. Actually, I was, I daily write about my near death experience. And I'm sitting there typing, and all of a sudden I see this black thing walk past. I was sitting in my dining room. That's where I usually do a lot of my writing. And my living room's to the right, and my kitchen's to the left. And I see this black thing walk by. I said, "I've seen you. What do you want?" And I looked over. And then all of a sudden, this black thing sticks its head out and looks at me. And then, so,
That's
of course, I go ahead and say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ and all that stuff.
so, do you get an evil feeling from it? Like, do you feel like it is like a bad
Curiosity with that. Curiosity.
he's
I
just
will,
like a curious?
yeah, how I make it work in my head is, I'm connecting back to where I was in the near death experience. And I think, well, I believe, not think, I believe that uh, I am able to attract these things. I'm like a beacon to them. So,
Hmm,
so I'm actively, ringing up, hey, my near death experience, and I'm here to, write about you, and things just start showing up.
wow. Yeah, because I know that you've shared as well that you've also heard voices and, people calling your name in your home and, seen, like, of course, the shadows and things like that. That's so creepy.
Oh yeah, well the
Like, I would move,
you would
torch the
move.
house. Yeah, that's
Well, where I'm at now, there's one picture and a video. I just took the picture, grabbed a screen grab off of a head sticking it out the doorway that is literally about 15 feet from me, sticking its head out. And on the video, you can see it just look left and right. While I'm on, it was during the summertime, so I moved my equipment into the dining room because it's a cooler part of the house. It's an older house. It's not, central air or anything. So I'm out there doing the podcast, and you can see me doing the podcast talking. I think I was talking to a alien abduction lady, if I remember correctly. And this thing just sticks its head out of the doorway.
that's so creepy. I think I've seen it. Yeah, you put it up on TikTok as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure
that's
did.
crazy. No, no. But do you
No,
think
no.
that sometimes that there's a possibility too that it could be things that you're attracting from people you interview or from some of your shows?
I can honestly tell you, yes, to both of them.
Really?
Yeah, I have interviewed some people that, I'm not going to name names, but I've interviewed some people, and I don't know what's attached to them. They say, "Oh, wait a minute, this old boy just crossed over. I can feel it." And then he comes over here and says, "Okay, well, let's go play." And then I've
Wow.
had people that walks into my house, and this house doesn't like them, and it starts whatever. There's a little lady upstairs, and her dad is around here. I believe I caught the dad's voice on the EVP, but I'm not
Wow.
going to play it or anything. But it is the best EVP I've ever heard in my entire life, bar
Really?
any radio show, Art Bell show, or anything.
But you've shared it. You've already have
I
are
have
you
shared it
still
in the past, but I promised I would never share it again publicly. So
Oh, okay. 'Cause, do you feel like there's attachments to it, or is it just
I
personal?
I'm not going to get into what I thought was going
Okay.
on there, but there was a few people in the house, and my late brother was here.
Mhm.
And the reason I got the video was it was right after my brother passed, and I said, "Well, let's find something." I know we've got security cameras in here, so I found my late brother sitting on the couch, and there was three total people in here, and all of a sudden you hear this fourth voice, plain as day, louder than everybody else in the house, saying, I wish you both would leave.
Wow.
And it is a very smoky, deep,
Deep.
rustic voice. But
That's
I
creepy.
don't know. I just,
So you think he's like the owner of the home? The
well,
original?
my family is the second family that owned this property, and the property itself is, he built a feed store, which is literally was about 15 feet from back behind this green
Mm-hmm.
screen,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like 3 stories. And I remember as a kid, getting the breezeway, waiting for the bus in the mornings, staying out of the rain, and but that has now been raised to the ground, and it's a parking lot for cars now. But I believe that old man and that little lady girl, 14 plus year old, she looked like she was probably late teens, early teens, something like
Yeah, like
that.
a teen.
Yeah, but she looked like she was dressed to go to church from the 1800s. Last thing, the one best good look I had out of her, that was it. And I was like, oh, who the hell are you? No,
That's
I don't want to see you, so don't poke your head around.
yeah, and I feel like that's to me like the kids are like the saddest. You know, if there's apparitions of kids or even EVPs of kids, I just feel like that just takes it to another level, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you understand like the older like I mean, but even like the older like that one that you were talking about, that would creep me out. I would be like, "No, this is evil."
I actually played it to for my sister and a couple other people that know, everybody in this house.
Mhm.
They said, I have no clue who the hell that is.
Wow. Yeah, that's scary.
It wasn't one of those things that you had to tweak to turn up or anything like that. It's not
No,
no
it was clear.
whisper. It was just as loud and proud as than anybody else on that video.
Wow. And so
Actually, well, no, I don't have it set up. I would in private play it for you, but
that's scary. I'm like, "I'm okay."
you're
But
okay. So
yeah, so he basically said, "Leave," right?
he basically said what I believe he said. The first 3 or 4 words were perfectly clear. I wish you both, and then there was a mechanical something pop up. It'll click, click, and you can hear him continue, and then the whatever the statement stop. But what I heard was, "I wish you both would leave." I'm the only one that stays in this house 24/7, so everybody else is a visitor.
Wow.
So apparently didn't like my brother, didn't like the other person that was here,
Yeah. He was,
and
like, territorial, like, that's his home. But it's do you feel like do you still get a sense of that, that they want you to leave or they're okay with you or
well, they're okay with me.
yeah.
Actually, Shauna in the in the chat there, uh, she sent me a text message. She's an empath as well. She
Mhm.
sent me a text message today. I took a nap, but I didn't sleep so well last night. I took a nap, and she sent me tons of text messages that said, "Sean, there's something black over top of you. Get up, wake up."
Wow.
So I wake up and I was like, "What the hell's going on?"
You know what? I think I would just pitch a tent in the backyard and live out there
Yeah,
and be like, "I'm just coming in for some drinks. I'll be right out."
you're right out.
That's just scary, yeah, that's I mean, but the good thing is that they're not, like, as far as it's gone, they haven't attacked you in a physical way or
Actually, I have been attacked
oh,
in here.
wow.
I've been
Okay.
pushed in here. When I first moved in here after I had my amputation back in 2016, I came in here and my grandmother was still alive, God rest her soul, and my aunt was living here, and they invited me to come in and live while I was recuperating from the amputation. So I rolled into this bedroom and then stopped, and then something just literally just pushed me forward. I could feel hands on the back seat of my wheelchair pushed me forward. I had to put my foot down to stop it. Look around, I was like, well, I don't know what the hell that was. Couldn't tell you.
But you felt it. You felt the
It
hands.
felt, and I had forward momentum from it.
Wow. That's
Then
scary.
about 3 years ago, when I first started doing this podcast stuff, I was on a circuit, and one Halloween. I was in my was it in my chat room, my Discord? No, it was before I made my Discord. I was in a Discord live stream telling ghost stories. I went through and told all kinds of ghost stories, and I had already interviewed Dark Waters, and he named a demon on one of the podcasts. So I named a demon while I was doing all that talking and stuff. And I jumped on, if you remember Heather Wade,
Mhm.
uh, I called into her show, told a totally different story, told about 3 or 4 hours worth of personal ghost stories. And I felt a tingle, like I don't know, itch or something on the back calf of my good leg. Reached down, rubbed it, and pulled up, and I was like, wait a minute, my hand's bloody. And I might
What?
have a picture of that. Give me just a second.
And that was
Maybe.
during the show?
That was during my Halloween. I was telling ghost stories all freaking night long.
Wow. Lakea has a question for you.
What's that?
Have you ever had thoughts or having your house cleaned or exercised? Cleansed?
Actually, Danielle Borzan and Tina Bice are both sending me. Let's see. I'm getting holy water from the Lord Springs, and I'm getting sand from Jerusalem.
Wow.
And I don't know
That's
when that's
good.
going to come, but we'll see. Anyway,
Yeah,
actually, I did find
try
it,
something.
and then I don't know. It is what it is. But anyway, here's a picture, probably about 2 weeks after. Let me share this out for you. So here's what it looked like. That's what was on the back of
Oh,
my
that's
calf.
weird.
And I was sitting in a wheelchair, so whatever was going on, scratching the living snot out of me, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's because it's, like, random, so it's not like it doesn't look like huh, that's
You know?
crazy.
And there's definitely nothing sharp on a wheelchair
Yeah.
to do that. So there you go.
And were they pretty deep, or was it just, like, scratch?
It was
'Cause
just
you
scratches.
had blood, right?
Yeah, it was, well, you can see the scabbed over. It was bloody.
Wow, that's scary.
But that was
Yeah.
after about 4 hours of whatever. And I said a prayer. That was before I started really saying prayers before and after um, shows.
So have you always been, very spiritual, or is it just did it get more intense, or did you
The spirituality that I have experienced really after I woke up from my near death experience. It was, I believe God is here without a doubt. You could shoot me, you could torture me. God's real, period.
Yeah.
And after I woke up from that near death experience, it was 80 bar to door. I'm not trying to sell religion or anything like that, but I definitely, I've actually made a promise to God to do what I'm doing now, the radio show and doing the writing and stuff that I'm doing. So
That's awesome. I like that. And so I know that you talked about the hospital. You have some hospital stories because, okay, first of all, hospitals are creepy, right? There was
I
one
have not
time,
been. I have not been in I've been in new hospitals, brand new. Still have the new carpet smell. Walked in, and you're like, well, there's something here.
really?
Brand new hospitals. Actually, it was one of the first green certified hospitals in Virginia that I was over a sleep lab, so I had to go inspect the new sleep lab. And walked in, and I was like, "Oh, this feels weird. This is brand new. Why did I get the creeps walking in here?" But I have been in hospitals. The hospital this hospital replaced, I was actually in that hospital, and the only warm body in there was the security guard. The rest of it was just empty. So I had to go in, retrieve old equipment, and I had my biomed guy with me, and walked in there, and it was like, holy cow, this place. I'd been in it before while it was a living, breathing hospital. It wasn't so creepy. But my God, that place was just off the chain. Seeing shadows and all this other stuff, and the biomed guy that I was with, uh, he actually said, "Does this place give you the creeps?" I said, "Hell yeah, it does."
'Cause, they are creepy, and I think one time I got brave. I don't know who was in the hospital, we were visiting, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go down to the basement, see what I can feel down there," you know? And as soon
Uh,
as I hit that button for the elevator, I was like, I regretted it. The doors opened, I peeked out, put my head back in, and went back up. I was like, "No way. This is just too scary."
well, the
I was like,
the places that I have actually seen a lot of stuff is OBGYN, the OB floor,
"Really?"
ICU, whether it's
Mhm.
cardiac or whatever, step down units, and the morgue.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The morgue is probably
Mhm.
the more activity.
Hmm.
Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know.
I would think.
And ER had, ER's, there's too many people there, but it's just one of the, hey, Dark Water's in there. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Dark Waters,
Hi,
how
Dark
are you?
Waters.
Great, great. So, uh, I have
Yeah.
not been in a hospital. I have not experienced something, either the creeps or just full blown. There's black shadows all over the place. When I saw a black shadow, it usually was a harbinger of me finding a dead body or walking into, hey, I got to code this person. Uh, Back when Art Bell was, doing the extraterrestrial radio station thing. He called it Spooky Matters, and he wanted people to submit a 2 or 3 paragraph short story. So I submitted this story that I'm about ready to tell you. I was a respiratory therapist, and in the middle of the night, respiratory therapy's got to do their everyday duty of checking oxygen, reconciling, going, poking your head in every room on a particular floor that you're assigned, whether there's a person or no person in there. See if there's a oxygen or no oxygen, if somebody's on oxygen or whatever, and say, well, that matches my records or not, and then move on or fix the problem if there is a discrepancy. So I cleared a hallway, got down to the end of the hallway where the floor was set up in a T fashion. Got at the nurse's desk on the right, and I got my nose in this little clipboard, going, okay, you know, making little notes. All of a sudden, this black shadow comes around the corner and blows by me. I didn't hear it, didn't feel it, but I sure the hell seen the thing. So I flip around, going, what the heck was that? And it was gone. Now, the only two spots that it could possibly have went into was there was a nourishment room and these big fire doors. As soon as you open the fire doors open, you can hear them. They all over the place. And there was right down the hallway a closed nursing room where they do all the charting stuff. Neither one of those doors are open. So I kind of went, all right. And I looked around. Nobody was there to see anything. So I got to the end of the hall trying to decide, well, do I turn left or do I turn right? And then all of a sudden, this lady sticks out of her uh, or I guess then husband's room, saying, "Help me, my husband just fell." Run in there, and there's this 30 something, 40 something man in the floor, and we did heroic measures on this guy, and it was from the shadow thing came from the same direction that I was going to code this guy in. And it was just a one of those crazy things that I just filed away and said, okay, well, another shadow being, another dead body. I actually saw 3 more shadow beings on that same floor. It was a cardiac step down, unit. If you had to, had a heart attack or you come from ICU and they were still monitoring your heart, you were on that floor. So it was, I coded a lot of people on that floor.
Really?
Oh yeah,
So when you say coded, what does that
do
mean?
CPR on it. on people.
Oh,
You know,
really?
their heart fails or whatever. You got to go in and do CPR or bag patients or breathe for them or whatnot. On that same floor was is well now isn't if unless they changed it was an old the old ICU unit there. It was converted to an EEG lab slash sleep lab. I've seen all kinds of creepy stuff in there. There was a ghost by the nicknamed Carson in there. And people, I had three people over the course of 5 years while I was in there doing sleep studies describe the same person sitting in the same corner in the same chair over 5 years. Three different people. Old man, bald, had a short sleeve dress shirt, not totally buttoned up or anything like that. Sitting in the corner. Actually, one I can remember a 20-something year old girl screamed my name at 3 a.m. saying, "Shawn!" Scared the living snot out at me. 3 a.m. and it's quiet as a church mouse, and all you're doing is watching people sleep. You know, and then your patient is screaming at you, "Shawn, walk in. You all right? Yeah, I thought you were in the corner." And I was like, okay. Then she said, then I realized whatever was in the man that was in the corner didn't have hair. You got hair.
Wow.
And definitely I had scrubs on, so
Hmm.
and she said whatever it was jumped off the chair onto her bed, and that's when she raised up. I actually went back and reviewed the videotape, and you could see something, a little orb, come off the chair and onto the bed, and then she jumps up, like somebody dead in a coffin, just right raise up and yells.
That's scary.
Oh yeah, that is just there's all kinds of. I had one code. This isn't paranormal, but this is a funny code. Another totally different hospital, and we were coding this person in ICU, and the doctor was about ready to do shock paddles on a person, and then somebody, as the doctor shocked him, somebody leans up against the light switch and hits the light switch as the person's been shocked. And then as soon as the doctor shocks him, said, "Oh shit, we blew a fuse in the middle of a freaking code." Well, I was a young, stupid respiratory therapist at that time. I thought it was kind of funny,
That's
but
funny.
oh
That's
yeah,
yeah. I would be like, "Yep, there's something paranormal going on."
oh yeah. Then you got all these patients that see things, especially the ones that are about ready to die. There was one lady that at one of the first hospital I ever worked for professionally. Walked in to do a respiratory therapy treatment on this little old lady, 80 something. She said, "No, honey, I already had my all my medicine. This nurse already gave the medicine to me." Well, I was doing a tandem run with the medicine nurse, and I knew almost for sure that this person hadn't seen a nurse for medicine because there's like two doors down from me, and shortly that nurse would be there. So I said, "Are you sure? That's your breathing treatment. This help you breathe." "Yeah, I'm sure she's already gave me medication." I walk out, and the protocol there was to tell them, medical medicine nurse saying, "Hey, this person refused treatment. Said, did you gave her medicine to her?" And she said, "Say what?" Said, "My nurse come in and gave her medicine to her." And I was like, explained to her what I was going to do. She said, "Wait a minute, let me go talk to her." Well, I could hear her talking to her, and of course, she said the same thing. "No, the nurse has already given me my medicine." She walks out. She said, "Shawn, the longer you're going to work here, the more often you're going to have this happen. When people are about ready to die, they see a nurse that this hospital was built in the early 70s, sees this nurse that had died on duty. And
Wow.
every time they're about ready to die, well, not every time, but she said more often than not, you will see or hear somebody refuse medication or say, hey, they saw this nurse in a crisp white uniform with a nightingale hat on, and describe them.
Wow,
Period.
and it's, multiple people
Multiple
that
people,
exactly,
and
so it's
and, and I looked at her. I said, "You kid me, right?" And at that time, I'd never really put everything together about what paranormal or anything like that. Did I believe in it? Did I have a seen ghost at that time? Sure, I have. But I was like, I ain't in Kansas anymore. And, it was just one of the long procession line of paranormal encounters through various hospitals that I witnessed. And that lady was just adamant. And then when that nurse come back out, said, "Yeah, that lady saw the nurse that haunts this floor." I'm
wow,
like, okay. I
wow.
honestly, I can't finish the story out and say that lady passed away, but
Yeah, but she saw
I would assume she had. Uh, there was another hospital that I had witnessed two patients that I had coded and brought them back to life. They had their near death experience long before I even. Well, hell, I didn't even know I was going to have one. But the first one that I encountered was probably my first year doing the respiratory therapy professionally, and I was working the evening shift, and the code was called right as the shift change. Protocol has, you tell the oncoming shift what happened during the day. What's new, what's old, everything okay, any kind of problems, yada yada yada. Well, the code was called in the middle of it, and I run over to work the code and run into ICU, and this little 80-pound soaking wet lady was dead. No heartbeat, nothing. She was flatlined, and we start doing CPR on this lady. And we finally got her back. And the next day, well, let's see, got her back. I messed with her the entire time. Next day, I come back and I had her. When they have that kind of cardiac event, they usually do what's called serial EKGs, serial heart tracings, to see, one, did they have a heart attack, and if they did have a heart attack, how is it progressing? Is it getting better or is it getting worse? So I had serial heart tracing tests to do on this patient. I walk in fully believing that, hey, she wasn't conscious the entire time I took care of her or did the CPR or anything like that. And I introduced myself, and of course, male doing a EKG where you have to do chest leads on a upper torso. You have to explain everything to them. I've got to touch you here and I got to do this here. And she looks at me. She said, "You were there last night." I said, "Yeah, I was here." And then she said, "I saw you uh, helping me breathe." And I looked at her and kind of, you could have hit me with a feather and knocked me out. And I was like, "How do you know that?" I said, "I was floating above the bed watching you."
wow.
Yeah, I'm 20, I'm probably 24, 23, 24. And wait a minute. All right. That, that doesn't compute. And then she started proceed to tell me what I was doing. And this,
Mhm,
the area that I was in is a heavily tobacco farmed area, and I know darn well this lady probably didn't know her, but from a hole in the ground when it comes to medicine, other than, hey, I take a pill or breathing treatment or whatever. What we do in the throes of the chaos that you see doing these CPR, code blues kind of stuff, she wouldn't have a clue. Thing one, have no idea. Then she proceeded to say, "That person right there was doing this. That person right there was doing this. And that person right there was doing this." And the person that she said, I hadn't seen her tonight, but she was the one that wore one of those nightingale hats, which at that time, the old school nightingale crisp uniform, you only seen that on students coming in. And there
mhm.
was old school nurses that, they were hardcore nurses, period. And then wound up saying this person was taking notes as you guys were working on me. I think the whole conversation, I think I did the EKG and the heart tracing and stuff, probably was with her 15 minutes, but that stayed with me my entire career and now. and that was,
Wow.
I was 24. I'm 52 now, so 30, almost 30 years ago, and that's just as fresh today in my
Yeah.
mind as ever.
But
Another one that I did,
mhm.
another code. There was a code called out in an ambulance, and I had an ER beeper. So of course I'm right there, and this guy comes in, and they were actively doing chest compressions on the as they were coming in out of the back of the ambulance. Get him on the table, and he was in his probably about my age, and we coded him for a good hour. And I know that he was coded for a good 30 minutes before he came in through the ER door. And the code was called, and the doctor pronounced him dead. And now I didn't have a whole lot of duties at that time. It was pressing, so I helped nursing clean the patient up, get him presentable. Remove all the tubes, and I had an ET tube, which is endotracheal tube that you go down into the lungs,
Mhm.
and did took all that apart and got him ready and presented for anybody that may have been there, family, friends, or whatever, to view the body. And curtains were pulled, and I walked out to the ER desk and started, doing my documentation of what I did with the patient. All of a sudden, you hear this male voice say, oh my God, I'm burning up, I'm burning up, oh my God." I obviously jumped out of my skin a little bit. So flip around, it was coming from where I just coded, and coded this guy.
Mhm.
Here's this guy that was dead. He was blue dead. I'm talking like dark blue, ashen blue. And he was up, sitting up in bed, kind of leaned. I'm leaning on my arm on my wheelchair like this, looking at me with the fright of his life. If somebody could copy that look on his face, and he just had finished saying the second round of oh my God, I'm burning up, I'm burning up. And then he slumps over after he looks at me. And we started, we said, oh God, well, I guess we got to go to him again. Pushed him back on the bed. And the doctor comes in and says, what the hell's going on in here? Who's making that noise? This guy. The guy that I just pronounced dead.
Right.
Yes. So we coded him and brought him back. I don't know what, how, or what brought him back. Same scenario. I did another EKG on this guy, with the first patient the next day, and he had this look on his face that his contemplation of life was just going through his head. I did not real. I just said, "Hey, I'm sure Shawn Graham will do EKG on you," and then the next thing I know, he just looks at me and he kind of looks at me, and I kind of familiar kind of look. I recognize you, but didn't really say anything. Turns out this guy said that during this whole event, the flames of hell were licking up his legs.
And I was just gonna ask you about that too,
Yeah, yeah. So
because he was
I don't
like,
know
"I'm
what
burning
happened.
up."
I honestly, I do not know what happened to that fellow. I can't. I used to remember the guy's name, but it's been
Mhm.
so long since I did that. But that was one of the creepier ones. Well, hell, just about everyone's creeped me out.
Yeah,
But there you go.
that's crazy. And I think that this is very common. I've heard of it, and I don't work in a hospital, but I've heard people that have remembered seeing themselves laying on the bed, right, floating. It's like a typical, story that they say when they come back. Um, some I feel like many people do have like near death experiences where they go to heaven, right?
Hmm.
They see things and they come back and tell their story.
Oh,
Or they see the nurse, right? That they like one of our aunts, she was admitted and she remembers talking to a nurse and she remembers his name. She remembered him like she's like any other person and nobody she's like after my surgery I asked about him and nobody could tell me who he was. Um that he
Hmm.
worked there, nothing like that. And she's like, so it was just like a, I guess like a she felt like it was an angel that came in to comfort her and say, everything's gonna be okay. Because he was very gentle, very kind, very nice to her, kind of
Hmm.
encouraging. And so she's like, "I couldn't find him. Nobody can tell me if he worked there." So it was kind of it's interesting, that these stories happen time and time again, and it's not like there's only one, 2, 5, 10 stories. It's like often, right? Like a lot of stories of people having experiences,
Hmm.
especially when they go through a traumatic experience like that, being hospitalized and very sick and even close to like dying. Um, I don't know. It kind of, you think there's, to me, like, oh, there's definitely something on the other side for
I
sure.
absolutely there is. Just because we close our eyes and the body fades away, we continue on without a doubt.
Yes.
You know, I have had people that have told me that I don't believe a word you just said, Sean. Well, okay, all right. And I actually got into a little bit of a conversation with the person, and they tried
Mhm.
to explain to me why I had this experience. I was like, okay, if you're right and I'm wrong, after we die, nothing's going to happen, not a thing. But if I'm right and things continue and we meet up on the other side, we'll sit down and compare notes, see who's right and who's wrong.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
Let's hang out together and
let's hang
we'll talk
out
about it.
together after. If the lights go off and nothing ticks afterwards and everything goes blank and we go into this void and never have another thought, one, great, no
Yeah.
big deal. And that I'm not that surprised that people think like that.
Mhm.
However you view, if it's a religious event that at the end that there's pearly gates, great. If there's no pearly gates and you go on and you come back, reincarnate, which I believe in reincarnation without a doubt. Um, However you look at it, it keeps continuing. There can't
Mhm.
be a planet full of people that have lived and died for how many generations on this planet and still talk about, hey, there's an afterlife. Why would
Mhm.
the pyramids in Egypt? How old are those? They are meant to facilitate moving to the other side.
Yeah, like a gateway to the other
Yeah.
side. Yeah. Um, so I know that you've had a near-death experience, so I kinda wanted to talk a little bit about it because I know it's
Where do you want to start? You want to start in the middle? You want to start at the end, or do you want to
I wanna
go
say
through the
maybe what
inception?
was the most impactful thing for you during your experience?
My experience. Hmm. Okay, I'll tell you this. What made it real for me. It was real. Seriously, it was real, real. The moment I woke up out of being in a coma for 8 9 days in a different hospital and asking, "Hey, nurse, how long have I been out?" And they just said 9 days. And I'm looking at it, I can't believe it's been that short of a time. But here's what made it real for me. My current love, Shauna, that was in the chat, we, we've had an on and off relationship for 20 years, more or less. And she got back into my life in the last, actually 75 days. Actually, I know it to the actually the day. But she and I remember her being in her truck when she found out that I was in ICU or whatever, and she was pleading with God. Saw her pleading with God. I asked her about it. I said, "Were you doing this in your truck, pleading with God?" And she's not one to do such things, but she was pleading with God to help me. And I asked her about it. Said, "Yeah, I did that." And I was like, Wow. On top of that, the other things that made it real for me was I remember my late father being in the ICU waiting room, and he at that time had several strokes and stroked out his uh, part of his brain that controlled speech. So it was very difficult for him to say anything. And I remember him telling my sister, "Don't hide anything from me about him." So there you go.
Oh, yeah. So you were kind of like there, but not there at the same
Uh,
time?
it was part. It's hard.
Yeah.
The entirety of the near death experience stretched. It was endless from the
So do you
beginning of time
remember
to the
it?
end.
Do you
Yeah,
remember it? Did you remember it right away after, or did it
no,
come in increments,
it come in
dreams?
it come in increments. When I woke up out of the coma in another hospital and said, "Hey, how long have I been out? You only been out 9 days." At that time, I was just in awe. I just came back from this experience, and it was like, actually, I wrote about it today. Uh, the experience. It was like I was forced out of having this awesome Encyclopedia Britannica. Anything I ever wanted to know was at my ready. As soon as I thought about it, I already knew the answer. Could have omnipresence, be able to see everything and be anywhere at any time. All I had to do was realize I was there, and I was there. Time,
Mhm.
place, functionality, however you want to look at that. But as I was waking up, it was like everything that I was attached to was snapped away from me like a rubber band. I woke up in a body that was still recovering from necrotizing fasciitis, the flesh eating disease. That's what
Mhm.
took my leg. And obviously, I had been in a situation where for 3 days they told my family that don't have any hope for Shawn overnight. And from what I had been told from various people that I know personally that took care of me medically, said, "Yeah, there was touch and go there for a while, Shawn." So we were just ready to code you the whole gambit.
So
But go ahead, go ahead.
oh, no, I was just gonna ask, so when you were, um, having this near-death experience, do you remember yourself as a like, what you look like now? Were you like a spirit or like like a light, or how do you remember even seeing if you had your body? How did
Actually, it depends on now. Yes, I remember what I looked like.
Okay.
Uh, at the time, I woke up in that hospital. Actually, it was in Bristol, Tennessee, at Bristol Regional Medical Center. In a I forgot what the name of the facility is. It was a long-term rehab facility that was attached to it. At that time, I woke up on I just it was like you were in a car wreck and then dazed. I said, "Yeah, I had a car wreck. I don't know what happened, but I had a car wreck." And that's how I came out of that. I don't know what happened, but I had something. And I told the staff there and three doctors. One of the doctors kind of blew it off, and the other two believed me. And one actually prayed with me at that time when I told them. Absolutely believed me. At that time, I had a feeling that yeah, I had something, but I was on all kinds of medication.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, some stuff that I was like, wow, I was on that. Okay.
Wow.
I remember waking uh, probably about 3 or 4 weeks into it. I had the little pain
Yeah,
pump. Here,
yeah.
give me a little squirt, make me
Uh-huh.
happy.
And then, like, it gets to the point where you can't pump anymore, you're just like,
Meep.
"I need."
Well, anyway, it got. I think that I I remember the nurse asking me to lean forward. I got to change your patch out. I said, "Patch? What patch?" Your fentanyl patch. It was one of those really big things. Like, I've got a fentanyl patch. How long has it been on me? So, well, we've had to change it out every other day or whatever the prescription was. I was like,
Wow.
how in the hell did I not know I had a patch on my back or wherever they were placing it?
Yeah.
So I fully disclose I was on some major stuff that would make you wonky. So, and
Yeah.
here's an to I'll go back to the near death experience, but here's some funky stuff that happened to me in the in that room. My sister and my niece come visit me one day, and actually it was on the, if I remember correctly, it was on the day they actually got me out of the bed and set me up for the first time
Mhm.
in a chair. And they come in, and I don't know what the conversation was. Couldn't tell you. I was still on that little, happy button. And my niece was on the left side of the field of view, and my sister was on the right side. And all of a sudden, this little blue toddler comes out of my niece, glowing blue. It was just like whoop, sitting in her lap, and then it hops off her knee, looks up at me, and goes, and then exit stage left. And they said, "Shawn, are you okay?" I said, "You didn't see that kid come out of Courtney?" "No." I said, "You didn't see a little kid come out of Courtney?" He said, "Shawn, I believe you probably pushed that button a time or two too many." I was like, "All right." So 3 weeks later, I get this text message from my sister with a sonogram. She
Wow.
was pregnant and she didn't know it.
Wow.
And I kid you not, that little kid looks exactly like the kid that come out of my niece's
And
belly.
was do you remember was you said a little girl?
Little boy, little
A
boy.
boy. And she had a
Hmm.
boy?
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
Name's Colton. Little snot nosed kid. He's mean as a rattlesnake. Love him to death. But oh yeah,
That's that's crazy. And so when you were, like, in a coma, do you remember? Could you hear things? Were you aware? Or were you
I
just
honestly, from the moment I was in the ER, laying there with my whole leg looked like it needed to come off.
wow.
It was gangrene, blew up, and as soon as I put my leg on the gurney, it
Uh-huh.
went popped open, all kinds of
So it
gross
was, like,
stuff. So
swollen.
it popped open like a watermelon hitting the ground, a ripe watermelon.
So how? Because does that happen? Like, was it part of the accident, or was it, like, just
Well, the accident happened 7 days prior,
uh-huh.
and over the course of 7 days, I spent a night in jail. I was drunk driving. I fully disclosed that, but I've already paid all I needed to pay, and done everything I needed to do to get that off of my record and all that kind of stuff. So that being said, at that time, I had this big old, super big, probably a little bit bigger than a golf ball bruise, deep bruise, and the doctor said, "Hey, this is going to look a lot worse before it gets better." And that's what I
Mhm.
kept in my head. This is going
Mhm.
to look a lot worse than before it gets better. Well, over the course of several days, it got a lot worse, and it kept on getting worse. And at the same time, I got septic, uh, more or less, infections, opportunistic opportunistic infections jumped in, and all this other stuff. And I probably wasn't the meant to make any decisions at the time all this stuff happened. So at the sixth day, it looked pretty rough, and my sister actually said, "Shawn, you want to go?" Actually, it was Thanksgiving. My sister said, "You want to go to the emergency room?" I said, "No, it's Thanksgiving. I don't want to go to the emergency room." And she brought over Thanksgiving dinner to me, and I can't remember if I ate it or not. But the next day, I wake up and it looked like Freddy Krueger had gotten hold of my leg, and I called my sister, said, "Can I need to go to the emergency room?" And she winds up with my nephew, and I don't know how I got out of that house. There was no way I could weight bear anything on that leg. Wind up
Wow.
in the emergency room after that, and a doctor I had known for years. Yeah, he says, "Shawn, I'm gonna have to take that leg," but there's about a 30 to 40% chance that you will survive operation to take the leg. That if you were 1 or 2 hours later than you are now, you probably wouldn't have made it. So of course, they squirted me full of all kinds of happy juice, and my brother just had made it, and I'm, said my piece and said, "Hey, Travis, um, I had a life insurance policy," and said, "Hey, my life insurance policy, you're the beneficiary. This should take care of everything and then some." And I
Wow.
said goodbye to my brother and my sister, and next thing I know, I'm laying there going, "Oh boy, this is it." Said a prayer,
Mhm.
and whatever they gave me started working on me. And I said, "Oh boy, this is it. We're going to see what's on the other side."
Mhm.
The next thing I remember is waking up in total pitch black darkness. I had no body. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I couldn't touch anything. Couldn't feel anything. It was just my conscience there. And I would fade in and out. Like I don't know if I fell asleep in it or woke up or whatever, and that just continued like that on and off.
Mhm.
And but there you go. That's the beginning of it. I can go really deep
I
into it.
know.
I was on the Lighting the Void with Joe Roop, and I
Mhm.
freaked him out telling him about that void in the
Yeah,
middle of
I
the
was
commercial.
I was listening to some of it and I was like, "Oh, I have to stop because I have to come talk to Shawn." But it's definitely yeah, and you're even writing a book on it too, which
Yeah,
I feel like
the
that's
book. Yeah, the
uh-huh.
book. I'm going to be writing every day.
Yeah.
Now,
And so are you gonna plan to put that out for the public, or is it for you just or
I will eventually put it out. Right now, I can foresee when say, okay, it's time to start piecing out of everything I'm writing, because I've had conversations with some friends in Shauna, and saying, okay, how do I write this? I'm not that great of a writer. I can honestly tell you, I'm not a great writer. And my friend Julie said, write without any rules. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. Brain vomit it out. Whatever comes to you, write it down.
Mhm.
Some days I'll write a half a page. Some days I'll write 10, 12, 15 pages and let it go. But it keeps coming. Sometimes I'll say, okay, well, what am I need to write? I'll get up in the morning and say, hey, God, thank you for allowing me to wake up. Where are we going today? And what do you want me to write about? Sometimes I wake up and like, oh, that's what I need to write about. Sometimes I wait until I have a conversation or something just pops in my head. I got to write about this. And tonight or today, I woke up and said, well, I haven't really wrote about the promise I had with God. So I've been writing about that. I wrote 2 or 3 pages a day. I'm probably about 2 or more pages tomorrow about it. I'm going to try to
Yeah.
complete that, flesh that out today or tomorrow. But
Yeah, because you spoke to God and which
I spoke to a lot of angels. I spoke
yeah,
to the devil. Spoke to entities, aliens.
really?
Um, yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. I probably missed that,
I
but I'm
had
gonna
I
go
had
back and
said
listen to
no. I had said that on that podcast. I didn't say that on. That probably freaked Joe. It's like, wait a minute, I got to talk about that. Well,
That's
you know,
yeah,
Joe, invite me back on your show. I'll talk about that or talk
that's so
about anything else.
interesting.
So, but yeah, the weird thing is, I do this daily blog on my community page.
Mhm.
And the weird thing is when I say, "Hey, I wrote about the devil, Lucifer, or whatever," I get more interactions with that. And I mentioned, "Hey, I've met God or whatever." The one that really got a lot of people talking about was, "What did the devil sound like? What did his voice sound like?" And
Yeah,
it's weird, but I can hear that son of a bitch.
really? So
Yeah,
it's is it still like for you, is it still like a vivid memory? Like,
yeah,
you
it's
remember
just like
everything detailed everything.
Sometimes, well, I can honestly tell you, before I started writing, I thought, "Hey, I've got enough to write 4 or 5 books."
Mm-hmm.
When I started writing, I was like, "I ain't even remembered any of it yet." And
Wow.
before that, I was like, "Yeah, I've got enough to write at least 4 or 5 books." Now I'm like, I remember stuff that like, wow, how in the hell did I forget that? There was an angel I saw through his eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and it was before God made man, and this angel literally watched suns, stars birth and die, one right after another. It's like a tick on a clock, and it was
Really?
so fascinated by God's wonder. And literally, I watched I don't know how many stars birth and die, and it was so fascinating watching this.
What? That's great. Because it's like time is different, right? Like, so it was just not non-existent, do you feel?
It was time there is there. It exists there, but it
Uh-huh.
is like the wind. You know,
Wow.
being able to control the wind, have total control of the wind, you can make it go forward, back, swirl around, all that stuff, stop. That's what time was there. It's sort of like a notion. Yeah, that's there. Big deal. And the weird thing about how I perceive time versus how I perceive time before, I've had moments where I'm waiting for the clock to tick off, 15 minutes left in my shift to go home, and that
Mhm.
15 minutes stretches out to like 4 or 5 hours. You know what I'm
Yes.
talking about? I don't
Yes.
have that. I have not had that at all since
Really?
my new.
So
I
time
can
for
wake
you
up is
it
always in fast forward. It's like I'm falling forward. Like
wow.
this morning, Shauna called me at 5:30 this morning. It was just like that. I did a lot of stuff today. Talked to
Mhm.
a few people, had conversations on the phone, and the next thing I know, it's time to get ready for uh interview here. Work on the shows and all that stuff. And it was
You know
okay,
what? I
day's
think that
over.
that would be awesome if you had, like, a job. Like, if you worked, like, a steady job and you're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get out," and, like, time just goes quick, you're like, "Yes, I'll do this anytime. Thank you very much." You know what I mean? Like, because time when you're at work, it's so slow or even at school, right? Like, it just feels like it takes forever, and I feel like that would come in handy for some people. Like me,
Uh,
I would be like but then again, I have my kids and I'm like, "No, I wanna stop
yeah,
time."
well,
So it kind of I feel like it has its benefits in a way,
oh yeah,
but
well, for you, I don't know if I stroked out or however I perceive time.
yeah,
It keeps going and fast forward. I literally have had, I've had to do certain things, and I've had to have pay attention to stuff, and I've actually said, God, can you just slow it down just a little bit so I can do this?
yeah.
Uh, but days is just like a second. When I woke up 6 years ago, over in that hospital, was just like a second ago to me. Like I
Really?
just woke up. The three
That's
months went by just like that. That I was in the hospital. 6 years passed by just like that. You know, I've always joked that I'll be 90 tomorrow.
wow. That's scary. See, I'd be like, "No, stop."
No. I'll get up in
But
the mornings, take a shower, look at myself in the mirror, and like, where'd all that gray come from?
yeah, it was just like 20 yesterday.
Well, it was
But, you
started. I
know
started this at 40, 52, 46.
wow.
This is when I had that thing. So obviously, I've had 6 years of road work done on my face. So what I can
Wow.
see is just like, man, you're getting old. What the hell's going on with you?
I did have a question.
Sure.
So because I've done some research on like NEDs and or NDAs. Am I saying it wrong? Near death experience.
NDEs. Yeah.
Yeah, and so people a lot of people that have experienced that say that they're not afraid to die, because
Absolutely, no. Yeah.
they've experienced the other side, and it was.
That I have run across a couple of people that have had the bad experience, the hell experience.
Mhm.
They kind of dread dying
Right.
because, for whatever reason, I honestly do not fear death. It could come to me in any shape, form, or fashion, last as long as it needs to last, but I'm not afraid to die. I know what to expect. Will it be the same for me when will I go through everything that I went through that you probably heard just a piece of on that thing? Maybe,
Mhm.
maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll jump in and do something else, experience something else.
Yeah. Wow. It's very, very intense stuff. Like, but I'm glad that you're sharing it, and I'm glad that people, because people have questions about it, right? And I know that here, in the next hour, you're going to be having your show, and you're going to be having a Q&A. So that's a perfect place for
What we're
people to.
going to do, we're going to do tarot card readings, and in the background, a buddy of mine that lives in Virginia, he
Mhm.
has a friend that has been missing for 4 weeks, and
Oh,
I
really?
presented some particulars to a couple of the people that's going to be on the panel, Tina
Yeah.
Bison and Danielle Borzan, and they've done their little thing. And my guest Keith Hass is going to be on there, so we're going to do the thing. And the actual sister, I just got word right before I come on. The actual sister is going to call into the show
Oh,
of the
okay. So they're
missing
going to
missing
try to
guy.
help.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
that's cool.
what little bit I have shared with my friend, he said, yeah, this is helping the sister out quite a bit.
That's
So
good. Yeah.
everything with the investigations from the point of view of the sister, from what I understand, you know, I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I will retract everything I'm about ready to say. But uh, it's at a standstill. She's not getting any kind of information from
Mhm.
the loss of her brother, wherever he has been for 4 weeks.
Wow. Well, I hope he's found, and this helps. So, but yeah, I know that you have to get ready for your show, but we appreciate you coming on and
Wow,
sharing.
how long did this an hour? All
Yeah,
right,
we've been an
I did.
hour. But
That's cool.
yeah, but
Yeah,
we appreciate you coming on, and I'm gonna definitely have to bring you again, Sean, so you can share more about.
just let me know. I'll be there.
Yes, because I feel like there's so many questions to your story that I would ask, and there's it would take all night. We would be here till probably tomorrow. So, but yeah, so you have your show tonight, and then you have a show tomorrow as well, right?
Yeah, over on the
The
Dark Waters channel. I
Mhm.
may have a guest tomorrow night. There is a lady from Scotland that I probably will have a conversation. She called in my show last Saturday, and she
Mhm.
messaged me on Skype and said, "Hey, I'd like to have that conversation with you." And she's got an out of body experience.
Oh,
She's an out
cool.
of body experiencer. She's been doing this for as long as she can remember,
Mhm.
and but she's also got a lot of paranormal experiences.
Wow,
And
that
she's
sounds.
wanting to get this tell out. She's never said anything about it to anybody. From what the little bit I've been told from her perspective is, every time she's approached this, talking to somebody about it, they think she's crazy.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad
That's
people.
the way the paranormal is.
Yeah, it's sad that people do that or feel that way, but I'm glad that you're there for her. So, hopefully she does come on and talk about that.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so too. I believe she will. Just have to get where she's in Scotland. She's 5 hours ahead.
Oh, wow.
So but she is a nurse that works in the middle of the night, so this is not out of the realm of possibilities to have her on the show. So that's a cool
Awesome.
thing.
Yeah,
Amazing how that stuff lines up like that.
I know. But yeah, we appreciate you coming on, and thank you for sharing. And then hopefully, like I said, we'll have you back sometime if
Oh,
you're
this is
up for
quick.
it.
This is quick. This is quick and
But
fun. I had fun.
yeah, I had fun too. It was. It's been very, very eye opening. Um, but yeah, so go to Sean's channel, Chasing the Truth with Sean G. And of course, you talk about your um, encounter there, your and near death experience, and then also some of your, your home hauntings and stuff
I
that
go.
I've seen.
I collect all kinds of stories. You know,
Yeah, and people call in too.
that call in. You
Yeah,
never know what you get. I've had some crazy call ins that like,
I know.
wow, that person just
Pretty
called
wild
in with
ones.
that story. Holy cow! It was Art Bell level kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I like that because the Art Bell, like, call-ins were my favorite. I was like, "Yes,
Oh yeah,
open lines was the best." So, I enjoy open lines because you never know what you're gonna get, right? It's
right.
like a gamble,
Absolutely, it's a
but
gamble.
yeah.
Some nights it's kind of a bust, and you know you get your regulars to call in, which I have no problem with it. Love talking to everybody, and then
Mhm,
you get that one caller that go, wow, she had like with this OBE lady.
mhm.
I absolutely believe that's going to be a fantastic show. What little bit she said
Yeah.
on the unscreened line last Saturday was like, woo, okay, well, got to have you on the show, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. But, yeah, thank you everybody for coming on and spending some time with us. We appreciate everybody, and don't forget to go over to Sean's channel today at 6, is it 6 our time, Pacific time? And that
It's
would
10
be,
o'clock. It's 10 o'clock tonight Eastern time, so 3 hour six, yeah,
yeah. So,
or seven your time over there.
yeah, so we appreciate everybody, and we thank you, Sean, so much for being here, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week.
Okay,
Bye. Bye,
see you
everybody.
guys. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.